My name is Qureshi, and today I will be discussing with you Oracle integration feature recipes. Recipes are pre-built integrations covering a certain use case and scenario. These recipes can include integration flows, and in some recipes you will find there would be more than one integration. All the artifacts like connections, lookups, if the recipe includes a JavaScript library, it will have its certificates and so on. You can use recipes to quickly get started building an integration. Some of the key details, these recipes are fully editable. So within the Oracle integration store, you can find a recipe, you can install it, learn from it, edit it, make changes. They're not auto-upgradable. So we provide these recipes as is, and you can actually modify them and you maintain its life cycle. They're free, comes with Oracle Integration Cloud. They're available for guidance purposes. But we are making a lot of progress. We have more than 170 recipes last time I checked. And the idea is we will provide more and more recipes for key use cases. These use cases include integrating with Oracle services, non-Oracle services, and different scenarios. So for a new developer and even a seasoned developer, they're a great resource to learn integrations and patterns. In today, from a demo perspective, I will walk you through where to find these recipes, how to install these recipes, and we will install and run and execute 3 of the recipes. One recipe is Oracle Fusion pop-up notification. The second one, how to capture business events from ERP Cloud and send the data to an FTP server. And one of my favorites for new developers, the SOAP calculator multiple operations, which has 4 different integrations and it covers different key scenarios and answers a lot of questions. So yeah, that's what we will do today. Let's start the demo. This is Oracle Integration Cloud homepage, and right in front, you see recipes and accelerators. There are certain examples here, but if we click on View All, we can see all the recipes which are available as part of your Oracle integration instance. As you can see, the number it shows is 176, and this number is always growing. With every release, Oracle is adding more and more recipes. If we go into Filter, and we look at different types, there are technical accelerators. There are a couple of technical accelerators available. The difference between accelerator and recipe, that accelerators are provided for a specific use case, which are managed and maintained by Oracle, and they are not editable, but you can extend them by using them as a child integration. Recipes, we'll focus on that. And marketplace, there are certain recipes which are offered by our partners. Like over here, you see, for example, there's some available by Inspirage or Fusion Practices. If you click on these recipes, they point you to the documentation or the link in the cloud marketplace where you can go and contact these partners and work with them on getting this integrations in your environment. Now, for today's our focus is purely on recipes provided by Oracle currently. So if I click on recipe, apply, and you can see there are around 165 recipes that we are providing in different use cases. So let's search. If I want to see ERP related recipes, there are around 32 of them available. And these recipes are not only linked with Oracle ERP Cloud, but others as well. Like, for example, here you see an example of SAP Ariba and Oracle ERP Cloud synchronization of contracts. If I go down, there are certain recipes linked with SAP and so on. So the first recipe that we are going to test and try today is the REST integration to invoke a pop-up notification in ERP Cloud. Now, when you find a recipe and you want to learn a little bit more about it, you can click on this drop arrow. It tells you which adapters are here, when it was published by, it's built by whom. So this one is built by Oracle. And if you click on Learn More, it will directly take you to the documentation where you can go through this documentation. If there are any requirements for configuration, it will help you guide you on all the steps, right? Okay. And now if I want to add this recipe in my environment, I just need to click on this plus sign, which will install this recipe in this integration instance. I can see the message, it has been installed. So let's go to design, integrations, and I can see that there is this recipe Oracle Fusion pop-up notification available here, right? The first thing that we need to do is to configure. So I can go into configure and I can see there are 2 REST adapters that it's linked with. I've already configured these, but I can quickly show you. So for example, the ERP Cloud adapter, if I click on edit, this is how I set it up. And similarly for the REST API. If you have an adapter already configured in your environment, by using this option, you can actually replace it with your existing adapter. And this is what I mentioned, it is totally configurable, these recipe integrations. Now, if I go inside this recipe, the purpose of this recipe is it's offering us a trigger which allows us to send a pop-up notification in ERP Cloud. Now, if I show you the ERP Cloud environment, here you see the bell, and we want a message to be sent to our one of the users. In this case, it would be John Dunbar, and that message should appear in our pop-up notification. This is a very useful use case. In many cases, maybe you are sending a process task, or some other action has happened and you want to notify a group of users. You can use this recipe for that purpose. Now, if I open the scopes, you can see how this integration has been built. It is getting the GUID from the ERP Cloud, and it's sending the notification using the notification API. So just quickly to look what's inside this ERP adapter. So here's the ERP adapter. They're using Query, and in the case of operations within the REST APIs, they are using ATK pop-up items, and the options that we have available is to create it, delete it, get all the notifications, outcome, and so on. They want to create, so they use the create. And here is the mapping. So if you look at the mapping, mainly, I have a trigger in this integration, in this recipe. There are 3 fields there: the username, message, and task creator. And these are all the fields which are available as part of that API. And in this case, we are just mapping user GUID, which we get from the last call, message summary, which we are sending as a message, and the task creator. This is the username we are sending as part of the task creator. Now, looking at this API, we can see there are so many different options, and this recipe is just telling us, a basic requirement. Now, if I need to update this recipe, I can add, maybe I want to display a URL that, the person can click to a URL. So I can just do a mapping to the task URL. I might add some flags. I might have some other information, maybe page pattern, list string, and things like that, right? So the idea of the recipe is gives us a use case, but it's up to us, and it's in our full control to modify these recipes. Okay, let's come out from this. I just clicked on validate, just to validate this mapping, and then come out. And okay, so far you can see I've not made any changes. I will activate this recipe and this integration. It has now been activated. Let's run. And I'm providing a username. It's John Dunbar. The message, let's update this message and say, message from Oracle integration. How are you? And task creator is Balajit Gupta. I run this. The result status is success. I've got all the activity stream. I can see how this data is processing through. And if I now go into the Fusion Cloud and I just wait for a second, I can see that there is a new notification waiting for me. I click on that and I can see there's a message from Oracle Integration Cloud. How are you? This is the message, and the task creator that I had set up was Bala Gupta. So I can, using this recipe, I now know how to send a notification message into ERP Cloud. Let's dismiss that. Okay. Now let's go and use another recipe. So I'm going into homepage again. I'm searching for view all, and I want to search for a recipe which is linked with business events. So let's see. If I search business event, I see there is a recipe ERP Cloud FTP server business event. To install the recipe, again, I'll click on plus. The recipe has been installed. Let's go into design, integration, and I can see there is a new integration waiting for me. Oracle ERP Cloud FTP server business event. Within Oracle ERP Cloud, Oracle Integration ERP Adapter supports business event as a trigger. There is a list of events that it supports. You can find that information in the documentation. The idea is that if you use the ERP adapter as a trigger, let's look at this. Next, receive business events raised from ERP Cloud. And here you can see there are different kinds of events like project status event, item publication event, receivable invoices incomplete, receivable invoices completed. And in this case, they are using purchase order event. So when the purchase order is created in ERP Cloud and it's approved, that message is in ERP Cloud triggers this integration, and we can receive that information and we can then pass it to the next system, downstream systems. We also have the option of filter it using the expression, and you can find that information in the documentation. If I want to add a filter that I only want to get events which have got a certain type, I can use this filter expression for that. Next, this is the summary. Okay, click done. And we can see they are assigning some lookups. So that tells me that this integration has got some lookups. So I will go and configure those lookups. Let's see what's happening in those lookups. Okay, I can see that I'm getting the directory and file name from the lookup. So this recipe is getting the business events, and it is adding that records in one of the CSV files in an FTP server. If I look at the scope, here I can see there is the FTP server, and let's just quickly look at the mapping. And in the mapping, I can see they are passing the information of the file name and directory for the FTP location, and this is the file for the purchase order, where they are mapping some of the fields from the purchase order trigger that we have received. Again, in this integration, you can see that the event that comes from ERP Cloud has a lot of information, right? I can have document type code, I have procurement business unit information, legal information, buyer ID, and so on. In this example, they have just taken 4 or 5 fields. So again, the recipe is giving you a use case, but if you want to edit it, maybe in your case, you don't want to send it to FTP location, but to a different system, you understand how you can utilize it and then modify it. So now let's go out. Before I activate, let's look at the lookups. I can see there is one lookup there. Let's see if I need to configure it. And I have added some values. So the directory and the file name looks good. Come back to the integration and let's activate it. By just activating this integration, now as it is subscribing to the event, the purchase order creation event, this integration is going to, at the backend, subscribe to the event within our ERP cloud. So it is active. Now let's go into Fusion. In procurement, purchase orders. On the right-hand menu, I will create a new order. Let's provide a supplier. Create. I need to add a line item. Search for a line item. I want to purchase a 4 GB USB flash drive. Okay. Quantity 1. Price is $5. I want to add one more information, so click Edit. And that is the request delivery date. So I want this on 18th. Promise delivery date is same. Okay. Now I'm going to submit this purchase order. You can see the document number is US 164266. Now within Fusion procurement, this purchase order will go for a approval. And after in this environment, I have set up an auto approval for values under a certain value. That's why you saw I added an item for $5. This will get approved automatically in a few minutes. So if I go to tasks, manage order, I can search. And you can see this particular one, 164266, is pending approval. And now it has been approved, right? Okay, let's go back to our integration. And in observability, instances, I can see order number US 164266 has been received by Oracle Integration Cloud. If I go in, I can see everything is successful. It has gone in and created a line in FTP. So if I look at my FTP server, this is that file. If I open it, I can see that one new line has been added and 164266 is available, is there. So in this recipe, what we saw that how easily we can configure to business events in ERP Cloud. And this recipe gave us an example how you can actually capture, create purchase order and load that into an FTP location. Now, let's look at one more recipe. So if I go back to home, view all and search. There are some recipes available which are more to teach new developers on different aspects of Oracle Integration Cloud. One of those recipes that I really like is calculator. There are two. One, you can see if you want to learn about for loop, you can add this. And this recipe, which is showing different operations, let's install this. The other two recipes that we added, we noticed that those recipes had only one integration in them, but that's not always the case. So now once this recipe has been installed, if I go into integrations, you can see that this recipe has got 4 different integrations part of it. So there is one integration which is about in-scope fault handler. So if you want to learn about scopes and how you can use scopes for fault handling purposes, you can go use this recipe and look at it and see how fault handlers are developed, right? Similarly, there are other recipes. For example, this is a recipe which teaches how to use switch. So in this recipe, you have a trigger. You can look switch as like an if-else statement. So we are passing an option. If you want to do add, it will go and call this particular branch. Otherwise, subtraction, it's this, multiplication, this, and otherwise, right? So this recipe, I really encourage the new developers to come in and use this recipe as a learning purpose, right? You learn quite a few things, and there are similar other recipes that you can find in the documentation. So now, if I want to activate this calculator switch, first, let's configure. I have a SOAP connection. One of the beauties about this recipe, I don't need any other thing. So the other two recipes, of course, I need to have an ERP cloud environment to play and test them. In this recipe, it is all self-contained. There is a calculator WSDL provided. I can activate and test it. And that's all. So this is the switch one. Let's activate this recipe. It has been activated. I can go and find the run details. As this is a SOAP trigger, I get a WSDL URL. So let's copy this, and I can use this from my third-party system. So let me go in and configure SOAP UI. So let's call it calculator, WSDL URL, and it creates the option. So I will go ahead and configure it. So I'll pause this recording for a short while. It has now been configured. So let's try to find division, let's say 24 divided by 6. If I run, it gives me the answer is 4. Let's find out what would it be if I multiply 24 by 6, and the answer is 144, right? Now, if I go back to my integration and I go into observability, instances, you can see 2 requests came in. One is for division, one is for multiplication. And I can see in this switch statement that when I had div, it actually passed through this branch. And similarly, if I have multiplication, it passed through a different branch. So this recipe, is very good for to understand, to learn different aspects. So today, what we learned about recipes, which are available as part of Oracle Integration Instance. You get around 176 recipes between accelerators, some available as part of Marketplace, but most of them, 160 plus, are provided to you free of cost as part of Oracle Integration Instance. We saw how to filter and search and find these recipes, how to install the recipes, and how to run them. We saw a few examples, but as I said, these recipes are a very good way of learning about Oracle integration. There are a number of use cases there. We just focused on 3, but there are available for HCM, for Oracle applications, for non-Oracle applications. And if those recipes meet your business requirement, you can just configure them or use them, but they are completely editable. So learn from it, change anything, test it, play it, and it's a great way of having a list of use cases available to you to run and execute. Thank you.